Here's another stereo that I picked up at the flea market a while back. This is a 1965 Magnavox Magnasonic record player, stereophonic record player, and the cabinet's in above average condition for as far as what I've been finding. See a few little places on the top, but I think polish will take care of most of that. There's no severe dings or nicks or scratches. And here's the inside. You have controls for balance, volume, bass, and treble. And it has the famous Micromatic record changer that was built by Calero. And look at this that I found inside of it. Magnavox 5-year warranty on solid state components. Now, you're not going to get a warranty like that on anything made today unless you pay dearly for an extended service contract. Now we'll look in the back of this thing. Here's the back of the stereo. Notice the 10-year Diamond Stylus warranty. Yeah, try getting that with your new Crosley. I'm not even sure they even warranty the needles on these new Crosleys, but anyway, when I first saw this unit at the flea market, I thought it was a tube type unit because there's no mention anywhere on it about it being solid state. And I didn't actually find this warranty tag until I removed the back cover and found this laying inside the stereo. But it is a solid state unit from 1965. There's the amplifier, which we'll see more of in a few minutes. And when I removed the back cover, I also discovered that some idiot had removed the speakers. We've got a 8-inch side-firing woofer and a 5-inch tweeter. The only thing left was one of the tweeters. I had some speakers that I had robbed out of a cheap electrophonic stereo console from the 70s that I stuck in here, but I'd rather find the original Magnavox speakers. And for the tweeters, I robbed them out of this 67 Magnavox end-table stereo. You may recall I made a video about this a while back, and I had every intentions of repairing this unit, but the cabinet had some issues, and once I got the record changer out, I discovered that it had been abused, so it really wasn't worth fooling with. And then I got to thinking, if I fix this thing, these jokers around here will expect to get it for $10 or $15 regardless of how much time or work I've put into it. So I decided this stereo was worth more to me in what parts it would yield to fix other things than what I could possibly get out of it. I might even ended up going in the hole on it, but I did get a couple of 12-inch speakers out of the deal, and of course the radio chassis, and I'll keep the old busted up record changer for parts. But as bad as I hate it, sometimes you have to sacrifice one item to get a nicer item in working condition again. Now back on this stereo, the mechanical portion of the record changer works relatively well. In fact, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot needed in that regard, but the needle is shot, and the amplifier, I believe, needs new capacitors and its controls cleaned. Hopefully we can get by without replacing the cartridge, but I won't know that until I get a good needle. But I'll fire it up in its current state and let you see how it operates at the present time. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to show you. Notice this cool looking power plug that somebody installed on here, taking unprofessionalism to a whole nother level. But the rest of the power cord seems to be okay, so I'll remove this and install a more professional looking power plug. Okay, let's fire this up and give it a little demonstration. Okay, we're plugged in. Let's see what happens. Well, as you can hear, it's playing, but the needle is about shot. But the mechanical portion of the changer seems to be working okay. And just for the heck of it, we'll see how it does with an LP. Okay, and I actually had some people on one of the audio forums tell me not to waste my time with this. They pretty much told me it was a piece of crap and would sound like crap, but I disagree with them on that. No, it's not a $20,000 audio fool system, but it's a lot better than most of what's available today on the consumer market. Okay, now while we wait on a new stylus to come in, let's pull the amplifier chassis and do what needs to be done to that. And one other thing I forgot to mention, when I brought this thing home, one of the leg mounts, more specifically this one right here, had ripped out of the particle board cabinet bottom, and I temporarily have it screwed back in, but you can see it's kind of messy here. So what I'm going to have to do to make this more permanent is either put a piece of wood here and bolt it onto that, or run a long bolt through here and a big washer and nut and bolt it on that way, but that won't be a big deal, I don't think. Okay, with that said, let's get this amplifier out of here. And first we'll start off by removing the control knobs. And one thing that may make this a little difficult is notice the type of nut that Magnavox used to secure the amplifier chassis in place. Now, back in the day, Magnavox offered a special nut driver that was designed to remove these nuts, but I don't have such a tool, and I don't think they even make one anymore. So I'm going to try to get this out with a pair of needle nose pliers. It may take a few minutes and a lot of cursing before I get this out. But it could be worse. Some of these were recessed way down in there. And you can see the way I'm having to do this by inserting the pliers down in the hole like that, and then pushing back on the pliers to give some pressure, and then turning it out like this. And you can see the kind of nut that we're dealing with. So we got one off. Let's get the second one off. And here's the amplifier chassis from February 1965. It uses all Nichicon capacitors, which will be replaced. And here are the TO3 cased output transistors, likely germanium transistors. They have an EIA code of 274 on them, which means they were sourced from RCA. And here's the underside of the chassis. As you can see, the circuit board is very neatly road mapped, so this shouldn't be too difficult to work on. So now, let's get on with replacing these electrolytic capacitors. And here are the caps that we need. Unfortunately, I don't have axle lead caps, but I can make these radial lead caps fit in there just fine. Okay, we now have the amplifier recapped and the controls cleaned. I sprayed some contact cleaner in each one of the controls and worked it back and forth, and we have it connected to the CD player for a test. And I have audio out of both speakers. Treble control, which appears to be working. However, our bass control is doing nothing. But I'm not going to blame that on the amplifier, because I seem to remember having that problem with some Magnavox amplifiers. It seems that the impedance of the phono cartridge is different than the line level output of devices such as a CD player, and for some reason the way these amps are configured, the bass control will not be operative when used with a line level source. So the only way to truly test this is to go connect it back to the record changer. And one other thing I had to do, the original audio cables had an intermittent short, which was likely at the plug, but I didn't bother with it. I just replaced the whole audio cable section. And these speakers are crappy, and the CD is one I made from some old 45 RPM records, so not expecting the best quality, but this amp appears to be working. Okay, we'll now go put it back in the cabinet and run a test run. Oh, and I almost forgot, here are all the old capacitors that came out of it. Every one of these Nichicon electrolytic capacitors measure anywhere between 2 and 4 times higher their rated value. These 2.1 microfarad capacitors check okay, but I believe these are actually paper capacitors encased in a plastic shell. Would have probably been alright to have left them, but figured while I had it apart, might as well replace. Okay, we're all back together. Let's run a little test on it here. Now keep in mind we still need a new stylus. Balance is working. Treble is working. Bass is working. Okay, back together again, and since the 78 side of this needle is the only side that has anything left of a tip on it, we'll try it with a 78 and see how it does. Not too bad.
Foolish heart, it won't believe we're through. Forgive my heart.
And we now have bass control.
Still a part of everything.
Okay, so when I get the replacement needle, we'll do another video on this and see how it does then. Okay, thanks for watching, and more to come.